Hi there, it's Kevin with GatheringMagic.com with match number 4 with our Black-White Warriors as we'd like to play. First, this is a decent hand. Yeah, I think we do lead off with the Swamp and then is a Bloodsoaked Champion. We have a Sorin, we have double Chief of the Edge, Bloodsoaked Champion. It can recur in this particular hand pretty easily. With Valorous Stance to protect or kill. Yeah, this is pretty much ideal of a hand. More and more I'm playing this deck, the more I like it. I think it's a powerful, powerful deck right now in the metagame. With all the mid-range decks going around, I think that our opponents have really cheated on the amount of early removal. Which I don't think is the right choice at this particular metagame. You seem to see a lot of like Naya Dragons ramping or red deck wins deck still running around. Alright, so I'd love to draw just a untap planes here. That'd be the best draw possible. But we do have action by attacking in. Our opponent did have to mold a 5 as well. That's always an advantage. It is a Dismal Backwater. I'd hate to be a black-blue control is rough. This is where you want like a mono red list. Is this particular deck. So I think that Chief of the Edge is fine. Comes out a turn late. He can't counter this, but he can ultimate price off the Bloodsoaked Champion. Or Bile Blight off the Chief of the Edge. Surprised he went on the Bloodsoak. That's a renewable resource. In fact, against this particular deck, I'll probably just attack with the Chief of the Edge. Okay, Hero's Downfall. Okay. So here we'll just put out another Chief of the Edge. Needed that 2 turns ago. Or Battle Brawler would have been better, actually, than Chief of the Edge. Because then we could have attacked in for 4. Gotta erase those dig through times. We'll just get in here for 3. And against a deck where we'd rather just recur things, we'll dash back in the Bloodsoaked Champion and cast a Shadowspear. But she can dissolve if he wants. Silmgar, Scorn, Dissolve. Okay with either. Clash of Wills is fine. It goes to the graveyard. Annoying, pesky life gain. He has 2 cards left in his hand. I want to... Alright, that's actually a great card because now we can have another draw. Bloodsoaks are really good in this match. We'll be down to an 11. I always Valorous Stance if he tries to kill. Alright, he's going to go for an Anticipate. Womp Womp. Okay, so it kills... Yeah, and there's nothing I can do as far as Valorous Stance for the Chief to survive. He does take 2. And we could just cast another Bloodsoaked Champion. It's going to be Battle Brawler. And Bloodsoaked Champion. Another Anticipate. So Dig Through Time is looking really good. Doesn't mean we're going to get cruxed out here. And if he does cast anything main phase, which he does not. Like, I don't want to run a Dissolve into Sorin. Maybe I do, though. No, I think we just keep up the Valorous Stance. I want him to tap out. This is lethal next turn, so I think we cast it. You could have another Bile Blight for the 9 millionth time. I'm glad to get the Dissolve out of there. That's excellent. Because now if he's going to dig, and if he doesn't find a blue source, I think it's Clash of Wills though he could get for Sorin. Bile Blight will work. That's why I hate just to run out a Sorin right here. I'd rather just main or do it after. Even though it is lethal, I think that... Oh, I should have. He can't... Oh, Clash of Wills he could have done. Alright, that ends up being the wrong play. I think we'll just keep Sorin in our hand, because it's lethal next turn regardless. So there's a Crux. And we'll cast a Sorin and win next turn. So it doesn't end up mattering too much. Even Dragon Hunter just wins here. I'm not going to show him a Sorin. Well, it's Dragon Hunter. And that's 3. Alright, so we'll go to the sideboard. More cards like Sorin would be very good in this deck. Chief of the Scale can get above the Drown in Sorrow. But I'm not quite sure we care too much. I do like the Greybraid Marauder because at the end of the game we could have a ton of cards in the graveyard, and this guy just seems to dish out a ton of damage if he gets in there. But it's Mardu Strike Leader. This is the perfect scenario for Mardu Strike Leader. So it's kind of this more late game. Like Rager, I think, is weak in this one. I don't think he's going to be having too many creatures out to worry about it. Shadowspear is amazing in this. Dragon Hunter is a little bit weaker, or maybe even Battle Brawler is just too much of an investment. I'd rather have these 1-drops that do something. Chief of the Scale can actually come out, and I think it is a Battle Brawler because I do want the early 1-drops to dish out as much damage as possible. I don't think we keep this hand. It's too slow. Wrong sources. This is much better. Secure the Waste is going to be a very good card. Love to hit a 1-drop. And everything is probably going to die to... Oh, there's our 1-drop. We'll Battle Brawler here. Which is probably going to get Bile Blighted down immediately. And now he's got the counter magic up, and this is just blue-black control in action. We do have the... Ooh, I could dash this guy in. I think we'll dash it in. Get off some damage. Missed his land drop. That's good for us. Attacking with Bloodsoaked Champion. Huh. Alright, we'll secure the Waste in the turn. I think that's actually better. We'll secure for 3. And that will force his hand to do something. So I wanted to counter this. he does not counter it. Smart. We can easily lose a Brutal Hordechief here, since we have a backup one. If he counters this, we get in there for... Wow. He'll Bile Blight it. Alright, that saves our warriors, though. And we get in there for 5, get him down to an 11. 2 Bile Blights out of the way. He finds that 4th land drop, which is still not Crux. It's Languish, though. But if he languishes... Yeah, that's a terrible card. We just get rid of a warrior. I want to draw a land now. Oh yeah, that's really bad. Double Self-Inflicted Wounds. Again, we have another Secure the Waste. It's just... This is just backbreaking for us to cast a Raider Spoils, because we'll be able to draw cards and our creatures get bigger. He'll be down to a 6. The Duress will play... He can Crux next turn, but it's the Mardu Shadowspear Raider Spoil combo is insanely good as well. Show anything till you've cast it. He's going to morph over a 2/2. What in the world is a morph card in this deck? I have no clue what this is. In black. Huh. Well, do we just... Brutal Hordechief? Does Brutal Hordechief just win it here? Because he can only block 1. Or does Shadowspear so we can Duress? Yeah, I think we can just Brutal Hordechief. See what this message is going to be. Oh. Okay, so... Yeah, I think we just Brutal. I don't think there's... much he can do. Wait, he can block the Bloodsoaked. And still survive. Yeah, so he takes 2. We draw a card. Even if he draws the Languish, he knows I have a Mardu Shadowspear, so I don't think there's really anything. Okay, it's a Stratus Dancer. That's a cool little addition into the deck, yeah. And then he dies even if he had the Languish. Well, that was a fun little run. Warriors did very well, 3-1, and I think we'll talk about it in the wrap up. This is Kevin with GatheringMagic.com. Thanks for watching. With the Warriors, I think it performed very, 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 very well in the metagame. I actually think the one loss we had against the Naya Dragons was probably our easiest matchup, as it seems to be a little bit slower than the other decks that we beat. But hard to beat it to Race and Elspeth or a Whisperwood. I guess that's the one saving grace for the deck, is if they can ramp out into a Whisperwood or an Elspeth before we really have the board position, we can get beat down. But anywho, nothing, again, rotates out of this. I think the Raider Spoils was 100% worth putting either in the main board or the sideboard. Greatblade Marauder is still a very interesting card, as well as Hidden Dragonslayer. Mardu Strike Leader will only come in versus a few different decks, but I think that the sideboard is pretty solid. I think that Chief of the Scales still deserve a place in the sideboard. I kind of want another Secure the Waste main board. I don't know what I would take out instead of it. Maybe a Dragon Hunter. And I do want more Self-Inflicted Wounds in the sideboard. The one of Hidden Dragonslayer might be unnecessary with the Valorous Stances. This is just another way to morph over and kill a Siege Rhino on time. And who knows, maybe with the metagame in the next set, Hidden Dragonslayer will be a lot better than I'm giving it credit for. It becomes a 3/2 with lifelink and kills an opponent's creature. I can't see that ever being a bad scenario against any deck that plays a 4-power creature. Is a little bit slower though than like just flat out casting a Valorous Stance, but the biggest difference is you get a card, a 3/2, afterwards. But it is a 6-mana investment. I don't quite know if the deck can do a 6-mana investment or 5-mana investment. No, 6 mana for a morph and then an unmorph. I think the mana base is pretty solid at the 23 lands. I think that worked out perfectly. I don't see us going down. The 1 of Sorin could easily be a 2 of Sorins. It's just this slot. I don't know if you can justify running more than 6, especially with the Secure the Wastes. And the Mardu Shadowspear also seemed very solid, which might end up cutting a Dragon Hunter. I think there was enough ways to make these Battle Brawlers become 3/2s on turn 2 with first strike. I don't think that Battle Brawler will be cut for anything, though. I think it's still one of the more powerful cards in the deck. It has a lot of synergy with the Chief of the Edge and the Chief of the Scale. 4/3, so you play this on turn 2, and then turn 3 you can go Dragon Hunter, and then turn 3 Battle Brawler, or turn 2 Battle Brawler, and then turn 4 cast the Chief of the Edge and swing in for 3, and then this guy will actually be a 4, swinging for 7 on turn 3, when you've already probably dished out 2 on the first turn. So I'm thinking that it still makes our 60, the Battle Brawler. Bloodchief we could cut down to we could put it in the sideboard. Easily put it in the sideboard. I do want some sort of Fleshbag Marauders and Merciless Executioners. I think they're very good against if we have any indestructible or hexproof cards in the future we have to deal with. The other card that I talked about being probably an inclusion in this deck is Zulaport Cutthroat. Any sort of blood artist effect I think is very powerful in a deck that runs 29 creatures, especially one that runs Secure the Wastes. And don't know if it's main board or sideboard. The deck is solid as is. This list is a competitive list. Zendikar does very little for it. It does add a few tricks here and there. But I think that nevertheless, this is still solid as is. When you start to replace cards with a deck like this, they're either minor upgrades or situational. They're not like huge upgrades like you see as the metagame progresses with more sets. We could get a few more warriors in the next set that make the cut. They are just strictly better than some of these cards, but I highly doubt it. It's something you can invest in right now. Have a competitive deck, one of the more competitive decks for $65, and feel good about that investment. So highly go check out CoolStuffInc.com. And if you're looking for a standard deck that's good to go right now without any even testing in the next metagame. I don't think anything out of Zendikar is even as powerful as Bile Blight or Drown in Sorrow or Anger of Gods. We do get the 1 Converge spell, and there also is the Boiling, I think it's called Boiling something, where it does 1 damage to each creature. That also hurts, but we do have the Chief of the Scales in the sideboard specifically for those type of cards. And we already have a card, Scouring Sands, in the metagame right now that basically does the same thing. So hope you enjoyed this list. I think it is very straightforward, easy to learn, does have some option though, so it does have a learning curve. So it's perfect for the new player and a more experienced player alike. And I think it will perform well. This has been Kevin with GatheringMagic.com. Thanks for watching.